Welcome back. In this video, let's discuss an important concept, the differences between an abstract class and an interface. Actually speaking, there is no relationship between an abstract class and interface except that their syntax really looks similar, right? So when do you go for a interface? When we would want to have two systems talking to each other, or two classes or two components talking to each other, and we would want to establish a communication pattern between them. We'll define a method saying, okay, this is how these two things will talk to each other, and one party would provide the implementation and the other party would consume the interface, right? So that's basically where interface comes in. Abstract class comes in a little bit of a different context. Over here with an abstract class, what we want to provide is a high level structure. We would want to leave the implementation details to the subclasses. What we are doing in here is we are saying, okay, I would want to be able to ensure that all subclasses meet this structure. And to be able to use abstract class, we are going to use inheritance. So is a relationship exists between the subclasses and the superclass, which is the abstract class. So each of these recipes is really an abstract recipe. However, that kind of a relationship does not exist for interfaces. Speaking the truth, the thing is, when we are comparing interfaces with abstract classes, we are comparing apples with oranges, right? No comparison at all. But typically this is something which is asked a number of times. The way you can answer that is by saying there is no real relationship. But when it comes to the syntax, you can try and compare them a little bit. Let's now look at some of the syntactical differences, right? So one of the important thing is, in an interface you cannot call something as private. I cannot call a method as private because in interface everything is public. So in an abstract method, on the other hand, you can have private methods. So you can say something is private. The other thing is, in an interface you cannot have variables. You cannot have things whose value change. If you have a value like this in the interface, it is actually a constant value. This value cannot change. However, in an abstract class, similar to a class, you can have all kinds of variables, because abstract class is nothing but a class, except that some of the methods in the abstract class might not have a concrete implementation. The other difference between an abstract class and interface is that a class can implement multiple interfaces. Array list, for example, which is one of the things which we discussed earlier. So array list, if you look at it, it implements a number of interfaces. So it implements a list interface, a random access interface, a clonable interface, a serializable interface. You don't really need to worry about what are the exact things, but the thing is, a class can implement multiple interfaces, but you cannot extend multiple abstract classes. So you cannot have two super classes, right? It basically comes down that you cannot inherit from two different classes. In this video, what we did was look at what are the syntactical differences between interfaces and abstract classes. Until the next step, bye-bye. This video is part of a Java course with more than 250 steps helping you become an expert on Java. You can find the complete course details in the description of the video. Along with it, you can also find the details of a free PDF with 200 pages of awesome code examples in 28 minutes, creating great programmers.